Charles Watson-Wentworth 1782-1782. Charles Watson-Wentworth, born in 1730, belonged to a prominent British aristocratic family. His early years were marked by a privileged upbringing and a comprehensive education, laying the foundation for his future political career. As the second Marquess of Rockingham, he inherited not only a distinguished title but also a deep sense of responsibility towards his nation. Watson-Wentworth's life was characterized by his unwavering commitment to public service, a commitment that would propel him to the forefront of 18th-century British politics. In the dynamic political landscape of the 18th century, Charles Watson-Wentworth emerged as a pivotal figure. His political career unfolded during a transformative period marked by conflicts, revolutions, and the expansion of the British Empire. Watson-Wentworth navigated these tumultuous times with a unique blend of pragmatism, statesmanship, and a keen understanding of the evolving socio-political dynamics. His influence extended beyond the traditional boundaries of aristocracy, earning him respect and recognition as a statesman whose ideas and policies resonated with the challenges of his era. The year 1782 stands as a watershed moment in British history, and at its center was Charles Watson-Wentworth, the second Marquess of Rockingham. This thesis seeks to explore the profound impact and enduring legacy of Rockingham during this critical period. In 1782, Britain faced numerous challenges, including the ongoing American Revolutionary War and internal political upheavals. Rockingham's return to power and subsequent policies during this year not only shaped the immediate course of events but left an indelible mark on the trajectory of British governance. By delving into Rockingham's decisions, reforms, and the socio-political landscape of 1782, this examination aims to shed light on the statesman's role in shaping the destiny of a nation in flux. Charles Watson-Wentworth's early life was steeped in the rich heritage of an influential and prestigious family. Born into the Wentworth family in 1730, he inherited the title of the second Marquess of Rockingham from his father, Thomas Watson-Wentworth, the first Marquess. The Wentworths had a long history of aristocratic prominence and were known for their deep connections to English nobility. This familial background not only afforded young Charles a privileged upbringing but also instilled in him a sense of duty and responsibility to uphold the family legacy. Despite his privileged background, Charles Watson-Wentworth did not rest on the laurels of his noble lineage. Displaying intellectual prowess and a genuine interest in public affairs, he entered politics at a relatively young age. His journey into the political arena was marked by a gradual rise, reflecting his ability to navigate the complex networks of 18th-century British politics. Watson-Wentworth's rise to prominence was not merely a consequence of his aristocratic status but rather a result of his political acumen, charisma, and dedication to public service. Prior to the pivotal year of 1782, Charles Watson-Wentworth held several key political positions that showcased his evolving influence within the British political landscape. His early appointments included roles in local government, but it was his entry into the House of Commons that marked a significant turning point in his career. As a member of Parliament, Watson-Wentworth actively participated in parliamentary debates, where his eloquence and thoughtful contributions earned him respect among his peers. Watson-Wentworth's commitment to public service led to his appointment as a Lord of the Treasury in 1755, and later as the First Lord of the Treasury in 1765. These roles provided him with invaluable experience in economic and financial matters, setting the stage for his future contributions to British governance. By the time of the American Revolutionary War, Watson-Wentworth had established himself as a seasoned politician with a deep understanding of both domestic and international affairs, laying the groundwork for his later leadership roles in the tumultuous years that followed. The American Revolutionary War, spanning from 1775 to 1783, was a pivotal conflict that marked a significant turning point in the relationship between the American colonies and the British Empire. Tensions had been escalating over issues of taxation without representation, and the colonies sought independence from British rule. The war witnessed a series of battles, alliances, and geopolitical shifts that ultimately led to the recognition of the United States as an independent nation. Against this backdrop, Charles Watson-Wentworth, the second Marquess of Rockingham, played a crucial role in shaping Britain's policies during a complex and challenging period. Rockingham's stance on the American colonies was characterized by a nuanced understanding of the underlying issues that fueled the revolutionary fervor. Unlike some of his contemporaries who advocated for a more punitive approach, Rockingham displayed a conciliatory attitude. He recognized the grievances of the American colonists and believed in addressing their concerns to maintain a harmonious relationship within the empire. Rockingham was an advocate for finding a peaceful resolution to the conflict, emphasizing the importance of dialogue and compromise over coercion. During his tenure as Prime Minister, Rockingham faced the challenging task of navigating the complexities of the American Revolutionary War. His policies aimed at reconciling with the American colonies and mitigating the hostilities. One notable decision was the repeal of the Stamp Act in 1766, a move that sought to ease tensions by eliminating a controversial tax. Additionally, Rockingham pursued diplomatic avenues to engage in negotiations with colonial leaders and explore peaceful resolutions to the conflict. However, Rockingham's time in office during the war was relatively brief, and his influence was limited by internal political divisions. His government faced challenges in implementing cohesive strategies, and his death in 1782 marked a significant loss for those advocating for a more conciliatory approach. Despite the limitations, Rockingham's legacy during the American Revolutionary War lies in his commitment to dialogue and his recognition of the need for a diplomatic resolution, setting a precedent for future leaders to consider diplomatic solutions in the face of conflicts. The period leading up to 1782 was characterized by a complex and evolving political landscape in Britain. The American Revolutionary War had taken a toll on the British government, both in terms of resources and public support. The military setbacks and the growing realization of the challenges in subduing the American colonies led to widespread discontent. Additionally, there were internal political divisions and power struggles that further weakened the stability of the government. As the war persisted, criticisms against the government, led by Lord North, intensified. The mounting pressure for a change in leadership was palpable, creating an opportune moment for new political figures to emerge. It was within this historical context that Charles Watson-Wentworth, the second Marquess of Rockingham, re-entered the political arena. Lord North's government faced severe challenges, especially as military victories for the British became increasingly elusive in the American Revolutionary War. The loss at Yorktown in 1781, where British forces surrendered to American and French troops, was a significant blow that further eroded public confidence in the government's handling of the conflict. The war had become unpopular among both the public and politicians, leading to increased calls for a change in leadership. Facing a vote of no confidence in the House of Commons, Lord North resigned in March 1782, signaling the end of his government's tenure. The fall of Lord North's administration marked a critical moment in British politics, opening the door for new leadership and paving the way for Rockingham's return to power. Following Lord North's resignation, Charles Watson-Wentworth assumed the role of Prime Minister in April 1782, marking his return to power after a hiatus. His return was not only a response to the immediate political vacuum but also a recognition of his earlier efforts to seek a more conciliatory approach towards the American colonies during the war. Rockingham's return to power saw the formation of what is known as the Rockingham Ministry. This ministry included prominent political figures such as Charles James Fox and Edmund Burke, both of whom shared Rockingham's commitment to reform and conciliation. The Rockingham Ministry aimed to address pressing issues, both domestically and internationally, and to steer the nation towards a more stable and reconciliatory path. Rockingham's second term in office was, unfortunately, short-lived, as he passed away in July 1782. However, his return to power and the establishment of the Rockingham Ministry had a lasting impact on the trajectory of British politics, influencing subsequent leaders and policies. Charles Watson-Wentworth, the second Marquess of Rockingham, was known for his commitment to political reform and a more conciliatory approach to governance. During his second term as Prime Minister in 1782, he implemented a series of policies aimed at addressing the challenges facing the nation. One significant aspect of Rockingham's reforms was his emphasis on political and administrative stability. Recognizing the importance of effective governance, he sought to restore confidence in the government by implementing measures that would foster stability and public trust. Rockingham's economic and social initiatives during his second term were driven by a pragmatic understanding of the needs of the nation. Recognizing the economic challenges exacerbated by the American Revolutionary War, he implemented measures to stabilize the economy. These included efforts to reduce government expenditures, address the national debt, and promote fiscal responsibility. In the social realm, Rockingham aimed to improve the conditions of the working class. While his government faced constraints in implementing extensive social reforms, there were efforts to address issues such as poor working conditions and the plight of the economically disadvantaged. His administration laid the groundwork for future social reform movements by acknowledging the need for greater attention to social issues. The impact of Rockingham's policies on the nation during his second term was multifaceted. On the one hand, his emphasis on stability and fiscal responsibility contributed to a sense of order and predictability in governance. The economic measures undertaken, though constrained by the broader context of war and international dynamics, aimed to lay the foundation for economic recovery. However, the short duration of Rockingham's second term limited the scope and depth of his reforms. The challenges posed by the ongoing war and internal political divisions restricted the implementation of more comprehensive changes. Despite this, Rockingham's initiatives left a lasting imprint on the political landscape, influencing subsequent leaders and debates on issues of governance, economic policy, and social reform. In evaluating the impact of Rockingham's policies, it becomes evident that his legacy extends beyond the immediate outcomes of his second term. His commitment to political reform and his recognition of the importance of addressing economic and social issues set a precedent for future leaders, contributing to the ongoing evolution of British governance and societal priorities. Charles Watson-Wentworth, the second Marquess of Rockingham, encountered significant opposition during his second term as Prime Minister in 1782. The opposition stemmed from various quarters, reflecting the complex and polarized nature of British politics at the time. One notable source of opposition was the conservative faction within his own party, which resisted some of Rockingham's proposed reforms, especially those related to electoral and parliamentary changes. The conservative members were wary of altering the established political order and resisted the more radical aspects of Rockingham's agenda. External opposition also came from political rivals and factions outside the Rockingham Whigs. The broader political landscape was marked by shifting alliances and power struggles, with conflicting interests and ideologies at play. This external opposition posed a challenge to Rockingham's ability to implement his policies and reforms effectively. Rockingham's government faced a multitude of challenges, both internal and external. Internally, the divisions within his own party strained the coherence of the Rockingham ministry. The Whigs, traditionally a coalition of various factions, were not entirely unified in their support for Rockingham's reform agenda. The internal dissent created a challenging environment for policymaking and implementation. Externally, the geopolitical context presented formidable challenges. The aftermath of the American Revolutionary War and the ongoing conflicts in other parts of the world placed immense strain on the nation's resources. The economic repercussions of the war were a pressing concern, and Rockingham's government had to grapple with the daunting task of stabilizing the economy while simultaneously addressing social issues. Rockingham, known for his diplomatic skills and ability to navigate complex political landscapes, employed several strategies to address the challenges and obstacles faced during his second term. One key approach was coalition building. Recognizing the need for broader support, Rockingham sought alliances with various political factions to strengthen his government. This included reaching out to moderate elements within his own party and engaging in dialogue with political opponents to find common ground on certain policy issues. Additionally, Rockingham demonstrated pragmatism in his approach to reforms. While committed to his principles, he also understood the importance of compromise in the face of political realities. This flexibility allowed him to make incremental progress on certain issues, even if he couldn't fully realize his ambitious reform agenda. Rockingham's leadership style was marked by a commitment to consensus building and a willingness to engage in constructive dialogue. These qualities helped him navigate through the internal and external challenges posed by opposition factions and geopolitical circumstances. Unfortunately, Rockingham's untimely death in July 1782 cut short his ability to fully address and overcome these challenges, leaving his legacy to be carried forward by subsequent leaders. While Rockingham's second term was relatively short-lived, his impact on policies and governance endured beyond his immediate time in office. His emphasis on stability, fiscal responsibility, and political reform left a lasting imprint on the trajectory of British governance. The principles he championed became foundational elements for subsequent leaders grappling with the challenges of the evolving political landscape. The notions of parliamentary reform and greater representation, advocated by Rockingham, continued to resonate in later political debates. Although some of his proposed reforms were not fully realized during his lifetime, they laid the groundwork for future discussions on the structure and functioning of British governance. Rockingham's emphasis on responsible governance and addressing the economic and social needs of the nation influenced the policy agenda of subsequent administrations. Charles Watson-Wentworth's influence extended beyond his immediate political contemporaries. His commitment to principles of reform and compromise inspired future political leaders and movements. Leaders such as Charles James Fox, who was part of Rockingham's government, carried forward the torch of political reform, and the principles of the Rockingham Whigs continued to influence the political landscape in the decades that followed. Rockingham's legacy also played a role in shaping the broader political culture. The ideas of conciliation, compromise, and a commitment to addressing the needs of the populace resonated with subsequent political movements, including the reformist and liberal movements of the 19th century. The emphasis on social responsibility and the recognition of the importance of a stable and responsive government became enduring themes in British political thought. Charles Watson-Wentworth's legacy in 1782 remains significant for several reasons. His return to power during this crucial period, marked by the fall of Lord North's government and the challenges of the American Revolutionary War, exemplifies his resilience and leadership. The emphasis on political reform, conciliation, and responsible governance left an enduring impact on the political discourse of the time. His efforts to address economic challenges, social issues, and the need for stability contributed to the evolution of British politics. Watson-Wentworth's legacy is particularly noteworthy in the context of the broader historical narrative, as his influence transcended the immediate challenges of his era. His ideas and principles continued to shape the policies and debates of subsequent leaders, contributing to the ongoing evolution of British governance. By examining the life and times of Watson-Wentworth, researchers can gain insights into the complexities of political leadership, the impact of historical events, and the enduring legacy of key figures. There is much to discover about the nuances of political decision-making, the influence of external factors on governance, and the long-term repercussions of policies implemented during times of crisis. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it informative, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future.